Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Howard Pinsky. I am sitting down beside the amazing Kate Kassab. How are you?
I'm doing great today. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, let us know in the chat how you're doing. If you are tuning in live here this morning, afternoon, evening, I don't know where you are in the world, but let us know. Let us know who you are, where you're tuning in from. We've got Kara and James and Ricardo, Tamara and Tim. Paco's in the house right behind those computers over there. It's a good time. We have you have some pretty cool stuff in store for today. Marissa's in the house as well. Welcome, everyone. So before we dive into things and learn all about Kate and see what she's gonna be designing, we're gonna be doing a few things today. So in about half an hour, we've got Chat and Win. So one of you will win 100 stickers from Sticker Mule, which is amazing. I have just a giant sticker. Do you have any stickers? Oh, you do have a few stickers.
I have, let's see, we got an XD sticker, of course, 2 of them.
Ooh.
We have a Photoshop sticker, and if you guys remember Project Gemini before it became what it is now,
yeah.
I have one of those, kind of vintage.
That's pretty rare. You wanna hang on to that one. We got some more people. We got Lindsay and Rakteam and Dan, Ariana, James, I think I already said. Welcome, everyone. And then, about half an hour before the stream ends, we're gonna be taking a look at some challenges from today's daily creative challenge, which is super fun. What's his name? Jesse just wrapped it up. Forgot his name. Jesse just wrapped up his challenge. He was designing, I believe it was a yoga tracking experience. Yoga. Do you do yoga?
I have. I enjoy it. It's pretty relaxing.
I've never done it, but I've heard it helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have back issues and neck issues, so maybe I should try that. Yeah, so definitely dive into there. We're gonna take a look at some of your challenges, upload it to Discord in the current feedback channel, and then, we'll rip your work to shreds. No, we'll be nice.
We'll be nice.
We will be nice. So, we're gonna dive in. We're gonna switch over to Kate's computer. She's gonna tell us all about her and her magical journey in becoming a designer, which I think you have a really interesting story. But we'll talk more about that as we're, yeah, so go for it.
All right. So we are gonna try to keep this relatively simple because I'm pretty excited to just jump right into the design.
Ooh.
So my name's Kate. My last name is Kassab. I am a visual designer out of San Diego, California. I'm lucky enough to work in the city, which I love. We have great tacos in San Diego. I also love the people there, just the kindest people you'll ever meet.
Are they watching today?
I think so.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
I also work for a company called MindTouch. We are an enterprise-grade knowledge management solution. And here's some of the team. This is us on Luau Day. We're not always wearing luau attire, unfortunately.
Aw.
I know, right?
Could you, though, if you wanted to?
I mean, I don't think anyone would say anything.
There you go.
So.
You should.
That's my face. You're also looking at it right now on the stream. And below is where to find me and some of my work if you're interested. Let's go ahead and actually pop over to Behance. Let me make this full screen.
Alberto says, we'll work for tacos.
We'll work for tacos. There we go.
I will too.
I miss SD, says Kara. Where at SD were you? I'm interested.
Yeah.
So popping over to, let's see, Behance.
Does Alyssa work with you?
Alyssa is a friend of mine. Hey, Alyssa.
Nice.
How is it going? So popping over to Behance, you can find some of my work. This is actually one of the first pieces I did in XD when Auto Animate was first announced. This took about 70 artboards. This was the first really long project I did in XD.
I think that's how I probably originally found out about you.
Yeah.
This went like crazy viral on Twitter. It was retweeted by a bunch of XD accounts. And it's just like, this is so in-depth and crazy. And like you said, it was right around the time when Auto Animate first came out. Mm-hmm. So people were really starting to experiment what you can do with it. Because at first when people get it, it's like, look, here's a little button that moves, right?
Yeah.
But then you just jumped in there like, no, everything moves. And I can transition between a phone and a desktop and...
Yes. No, it's so powerful. So the way I used to do animation was animation by frames in Photoshop. And so when you guys announced Auto Animate, like you said, I kind of just jumped right in there and was like, well, like what else can I do? Like tried to break things. I don't know. Just really fun. So that's one of the things in XD I've done. Going over to Dribble, I have some more work if you guys want to look through it. As a hobby, I do some digital painting as well. And just small little animations. This was also done in XD, right? Just little things here and there. So
animating in XD is so fun.
Yeah, it's addicting.
It really is, especially once you start, exploring all the different ideas. Some of the content in my videos, like showing the product, like co-editing, it's all designed and animated in XD. Like I could have done it in After Effects, but I mean, if I'm used to using XD, might as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anthony's asking that animation was all done with Adobe Auto Animate.
That is correct. Maybe later on in the stream I can pull up the original file and dive in.
Cool.
Don't judge my artboard names, but I mean, you can look at all 90 of them if you want. James says, haha, everything moves now. Yes, everything moves now.
Yep. Frankie's asking XD to After Effects there. So we do have a workflow. If you go to the File menu, if you have After Effects installed, I think it's File, Export, After Effects. It'll basically take all the elements from that project and the artboards, bring into After Effects, and you can just animate the heck out of it. You can't bring it back because obviously After Effects is way more in depth than XD is. But if you do need very fine-tuned, timing and that sort of thing, you can definitely bring your stuff over.
And then as far as, just comparing XD to After Effects, it's a lot more streamlined in XD. If you're just like a typical Adobe user, it's gonna be a little bit more familiar. Jumping into After Effects, you're gonna have a lot to look at, a lot of different panels. There is a little bit more of a learning curve, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But you're gonna get cleaner exports. I mean, After Effects is, of course, made for motion, so you just gotta ask yourself what you want to use.
Yeah, and I'd be curious for Frankie and anyone else who might want to grab your XD files and bring it over to After Effects. What would be, obviously there are some very obvious reasons why you would want to do that, but what are the specific reasons? Because the team is looking at how do we improve prototyping in 2020? How do we improve components and states? What more control can we offer for Auto Animate? And there are things in the works, but I would love to hear what very specific things that you would all want to improve that experience even more. Oh, there you go. Frankie just dives in there. Really hoping that Adobe devs will add prototyping within layers instead of artboards. So we kind of started with that with component states, which was released just a few months ago at Adobe Max. You can now, with limitations at the moment, you can now animate between two different components. But what I think you're getting at is, imagine a world where you can save complete animations as a state or as a component, and then activate those animations either at a certain time during your prototype, or on a click, or on a key press, and that sort of thing. So I think, especially with states, we're gonna see some really interesting things in the future. That's all I can say.
Really quick, as far as my background goes, I was always someone that knew that I loved creating. Growing up, I always thought that was writing for me, and so growing up, I always wanted to be an English major, tried to go to college for it, and I just kind of hit a point where I wasn't quite understanding where I wanted to go from there. And so I kind of did some self-reflection. My biggest inspiration is video games. And so I knew that I just wanted to create more of a story. And so I actually ended up going to a code boot camp thinking I wanted to be a web designer. And then through that code boot camp, as I started to learn front end, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, I started falling in love with web design, but the more visual part of it and the more design part of it. And I ended up doing some freelance design, and from there got hired on at MindTouch. So I didn't go to design school. I don't think all designers have to. However, it will give you more of solid understandings of the technical parts of it. However, just do it because you love it. And I really believe that if you're doing something because you love it and you put in that time, you're gonna get there.
Yeah, and I think it's a perfect story for what we're doing, right? Is because we have a lot of people in the chat who watch these 2-hour streams, a lot of people in the chat who watch the daily creative challenges. Some of them are not designers. We've had doctors, we've had plumbers, we've had all sorts of people who just love design and want to start diving into it. But they think that because they didn't go to school for it. I mean, I didn't go to school for design. I went to school for 3D animation. But they thought, I never went to college or never went to university for design. I'm never going to have a career. But, stories like yourself kind of completely prove, the opposite, is that if you love it and you really spend time doing it, you can do it.
Absolutely.
Chris Cannon's in the house. He says, don't worry, neither did I.
Hi, Chris.
So if anyone has questions for Kate throughout this process, definitely throw them in the chat. I will be watching. I'll do my best to pass them over to her. And very quickly, we have Diego's asking, I'm curious to know how Adobe selects designers to be featured on live streams. So we look at Behance a lot. We look at a lot of different platforms, but Behance, because it's like an Adobe property, we're on there all the time. We're looking for designers. That's probably how we found you. You were also very active in the chat. So, you know, that definitely helps. Getting your face out there, getting your name out there, getting your work out there. You know, we're on Discord. We have 32,000 designers in there, so we're always looking at daily challenge entries, portfolio submissions. Jack is another perfect example. She was right here beside me a few months ago. We found her through her daily challenges. Great stuff. So definitely post your work, throw it out there. I will note that at the moment, probably because of visa issues and that sort of thing, we're more or less limited to like US and Canada. But maybe eventually we'll branch out because we are doing live streams in Germany now and Australia, I think. So there might be opportunities, but throw your work out there on Behance, Discord, all the places. Be active and we'll find you eventually.
Yeah, I was right where all of you are right now. It is so weird to be on the other side of the screen.
Yeah, you've been active for quite a while. You've watched a lot of streams right from that perspective.
Yes, since
and
like
now you're here.
2018, something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, now I'm here. Crazy
The
stuff.
desk that Michael Crabtree spilled water all over.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, that was fun. Anyways.
I'm gonna push my coffee a little bit further away just in case. Cool. Well, that is enough about me. Let's dive into what we'll actually be designing today.
Let's do it. I'm really excited for this because you kind of gave me a little hint of what you're gonna be doing and it sounds really interesting.
Yes. Okay. So, essentially, I made a little prologue section in my XD file to talk to. So, today's goal is to create a fun-to-do application that is going to give creatives a fun way to keep track of and share their to-dos, track their progress, and become a part of a community. So, the reason that I chose to design this is because maybe some of you feel the same way. I am someone that is not always the best at updating my portfolio. It takes me a while to actually piece together my case studies the way that I want them. Sometimes there will be months in between different updates. So for me, I really enjoy to do applications because it feels like I'm getting those little wins every single day. And I want to give this a certain social aspect so you as a user can come in and like see what I'm doing on the daily. And I can upload different works in progress, but then for me, it's a way to keep track of it all. So that's what we're gonna be designing. Who is it meant for? Literally just digital creators of any kind. So whether you're a visual designer, a digital artist, someone that just wants to make friends, a 3D artist, literally anyone that creates digitally, I want this to be for them. And why? So I kind of already touched on it, but you know, I think that everyone gets a little bit lonely and unmotivated at times. So to kind of have a community to back you and be motivating, even like your small wins every day, like that does a lot for me personally. Maybe it will for you guys too. I don't know. And then lastly, so how is this memorable? I saw someone in the chat ask, is that a Nintendo Switch? Yes, it is.
Yes.
So I want this experience to be sort of like video game-esque because that's kind of the background that I come from, where like that's what motivates me. Like I get super excited if I can like level up from something or gain experience from something. So we'll delve into how that comes into play later on. Quick little thing, this awesome Nintendo Switch illustration comes from Drawkit, which is, let's actually bring this up a little bit later in the stream. It's basically free and or paid for illustrations that are done from, I think he's in the chat right now actually, James Daly. He is an amazing illustrator. We're gonna dive into that a little bit later, but just wanted to say this is from him.
That's exciting. I did see someone, I think it was Frankie, asked about, Chris, you can't talk about pre-releases. Frankie was asking about something about fixing navigation bars to your artboard. I think that are component states or something like that. At the moment, I don't believe you can. If you're inside of a component and you have an object selected, you can't stick it. But I think possibly in the January release, if I'm looking at things, I have it on my computer. Shh. You'll be able to, component states, not the objects inside of them, but component states you'll be able to fix to the artboard.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, looks like we have 14 minutes left for our chat and win. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so today's theme is, of course, workflows and pro tips. So we are gonna be actually starting this basically from scratch. So I'm gonna be walking you through the sketches I've done, the references I've pulled, a quick little color palette I've put together, and really just starting from there.
I'm already loving the references.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm super excited. So in my sketches, I'm someone that believes that sketches really don't need to be pretty. So like if you come in here, like you're gonna see all of my lines are crooked, I have really bad handwriting. Like for me, sketches are a way to kind of just get all of the ideas out and onto paper.
Yep.
And even just right up here, like when I was first like brainstorming what I'm even trying to do here, like I just wrote down anything that came to mind. So of course this was like the original, what I wanted to do, and then all of these ideas that started to like stem from it. So.
And do you typically sketch for all the projects you're working on, or is it like a case-by-case basis?
Usually I do try to sketch for almost every project just because it helps me kind of get it all out. But I don't do like, so even this is a little bit in depth for me, right? So you see like I have little notes coming down and I don't get as in depth with everything.
Yeah, but of course you're live, so it has to look a little,
oh yeah, like a little bit better.
bit.
Like you'll
But-
even see like arrows and
Yeah,
stuff.
but I completely agree. Like when the rare times I do sketch, sometimes I just like dive in and just start doing things on my computer. But the rare times I do grab a notebook and sketch, it's like literally just a box.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't even look like a rectangle, just like a oblong sphere or something like that. A bunch of little squiggles inside, and to me it makes sense. But someone else looking at it, I mean, it doesn't matter if someone else has to make sense of it. As long as it makes sense to me,
Yes,
that's all that matters.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so of course I start with my sketch process and then moving on to references. I mean, this can be your reference and or inspiration phase. So being that I want this to be sort of video game themed, I went ahead and pulled down the profile interface from PlayStation, the sort of like dashboard / homepage for the Nintendo Switch. And then since this is going to be a to-do app, I went ahead and pulled some quick references from different websites. Really quick, I do want to go ahead and pop over here. So this is actually a website that I have been using that kind of really gave me the inspiration for this project. So this is called getmakerlog.com.
I've never heard of this one.
And this is a to-do app sort of website where the community is more like more development and more founders, but you can see that people are going ahead and like listing like even the smallest of their to-dos for the days. And then as another user, I can come in and like clap for them and like comment, and it's,
Interesting.
I think it's so fun. And then like you get obviously your own profile that you can like kind of customize. So anyways.
I kind of like the social aspect to to-dos. I've never
Right?
even thought about that before, because any app that I've used is just for me. Maybe I'll get a notification, but then I'll just like, whatever, I'll do it later. Or I'll just, maybe I'll do it, but there's no motivation behind it.
Yeah.
But if all of a sudden I have users like, you need to get this done, like, ooh, this is interesting. Maybe they'll push me forward a little bit.
A little off topic, but Alberto says, so that PS5 logo. Oh my God. But yeah, no, I completely agree, because like even like these things down here where you can see like where I haven't finished some things,
Yeah.
like I feel like someone can come in and be like, oh, she didn't finish her stuff for the day. I'm like, oh crap, like I need to finish my to-dos. So that's where a lot of inspiration is being pulled from. So let's just dive right into color. Let's have some color, right?
Sweet.
So we have some primary colors, right? But I think that I want to go ahead and wire this up to where in the future, as I like kind of continue along with my project, like if I want to change how this looks, like obviously since these aren't components, we're not going to see them change universally. So really quick, let's just have some fun with components. And then as I'm doing this,
That's
guys,
words to live by.
let's have some fun with components,
Yeah.
right? Make it a quote in 2020. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go ahead and make these components, and I wanna give these colors names. So
when you're starting the process of coming up with your colors, is there a method that you use, or is it just, you find one highlight color and then you kind of figure out what works best? Do you use any websites or services or like Adobe Capture?
Yeah, so really the first step is I'm always gonna ask myself, like, what is the sort of feeling I wanna get across in this app? And so since this is gonna be more fun, I want it to be bright, I wanna include these really bright pops of color. But something that I use that is very, very helpful is Adobe Color.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, come over here. So Adobe Color offers all of these different palettes. So you can come in and you can explore the different trends that they have. I'm taking a second to load.
And just a side question for anyone watching, what was the previous name for Adobe Color? It was close, but it wasn't Adobe Color.
Yeah, but we get all these different palettes. So for this one, I went into, I looked at game design especially, and I kind of tried to do a hybrid of some of the ones I saw in game design and graphic design.
Oh, Dan's got it. It was cooler.
Nice.
Yeah. Chris is asking, what day do you think they will release the January XD update? Only a week left. Yeah, I don't know. What are we at? Monday, 27th. I mean, there's only like, what, 4 days left?
Yeah. Leave a guess in the chat. Let us know. Is it going to be the last day of the month? Is it going to be in 2 days? What do you guys think?
Could be right now.
Literally right now. Surprise! Just kidding.
I'm going to press the button. If only I had that power. Yeah, a bunch of people got it. Cooler, cooler, cooler.
Nice.
Yep, nice.
So as I go ahead and make these components really quick, can you guys help me come up with some color names? I want to keep this XD themed. So I want this one to be maybe XD pink. But you know what? Since I'm with Mr. Howard Pinsky today,
yes.
I think it's only appropriate. Come on, we gotta include boops somewhere.
That's when you know you've made it, when someone names a color after you. I don't know.
All right, using Command K, we're gonna go ahead and make this a component. Next, using Repeat Grid, we're just gonna go ahead and drag that out. Perfect. And now let's come in and color pick some of these other colors.
So for anyone's wondering, they might be asking, why did you turn that color into a component? And that really helps when creating a repeat grid. Because if you were to just have that color, then create a repeat grid that was not a component, Daniel's saying Pinsky.
Pinsky.
Yes, Alberto said the same thing.
That's so good.
Fun fact, I don't know if it's a fun fact, it's not. But a lot of people spell my last name as Pink Sky anyway. So anyway, so going back to what I was talking about, if you were to not have that color as a component and you included that in a repeat grid, if you were to change any of the other colors, it would basically propagate it across the whole thing. But because they're a repeat grid, or because they're a component within a repeat grid, you can override it.
Kara says Poppins purple.
Oh, there you go.
That's so good. Okay.
Poppins.
Yeah,
yes.
we're naming this Poppins.
This is why I love our chat when we're live streaming.
Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. But something that I strive to do when I'm making a new XD file is I really want to start building a solid foundation from the get-go. And that means, making sure that your assets are being added as you go, just so that as you work, it's much more streamlined. So I know that these are going to be the colors that I use, so I can actually just go ahead and highlight this, and clicking the plus next to colors, it's going to add all those colors right in there, right? Then what I'm going to do over here is having those selected and pressing the color. It's going to, whatever color you have highlighted, you can go ahead and add into your palette over here as well. And this is really just gonna make things so much easier down the line as we work.
And the big advantage of using your assets panel over to the left rather than, or in addition to the one where right up there where the fill is, is that, the one over here where the fill is, if you were to change that color, it's not gonna propagate to everything. But if you're to work with your assets over to the left, if you were to change that pink to a slightly red or slightly darker or lighter, anywhere that pink exists in your document, it's going to change everywhere.
Yep. So if I come over here, go to edit the color, it's going to live update as I edit it. And kind of more to Howard's point, like let's say I had some more over here, go up here to edit it, it's going to change everywhere.
Yeah. So if anyone out there is not using assets, use assets.
Gotta get on it. Assets is where it's at.
Yep.
Okay, so we have our colors defined. Keep leaving us some names. We still have 3 colors that need awesome names. It's gonna be hard to top Poppins Purple, but I mean, maybe we'll get there.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on down here. So Adobe XD offers some great different, basically like kits. And so I went ahead and pulled a few that I thought that I might want to use in the future, just for reference. Okay, and then these are going to be the pages that we're going to be designing. We're going to have a login page, a home page, a dashboard, and a profile page.
Sweet.
Just super simple. So let's go ahead and let's start with the login page.
We've got a Oddish Blue.
Oddish. Are you naming it after a Pokemon? Like, are you naming? Dude, Oddish is like my favorite Pokemon. That makes me so happy.
I think we gotta do it.
Okay, cool. Okay, 2 more colors.
Eric is saying pink C for the pink. Now we gotta go with boop. Unless we do boop for something else.
I feel like boop can probably be this navy color. Let's go ahead and make this pink. Oh, let's see what's going on there. Oh, because it's the master, so it's gonna update everywhere where I haven't.
Indeed.
Okay. So boop, exclamation point. Awesome. We still need 1 more for the gray.
Get on it, chat. So what are you thinking for, in terms of like aesthetic for a login experience? What are you thinking?
So I want it right off the bat. As soon as someone hits the login/signup page, I want them to see like, I want to have them get a feel of the character for the website, right? So we're gonna go ahead, let's pop in here.
Let's pop in here. Never mind. I tried. My dad jokes are not strong today.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Okay, so actually before we even jump into color or anything, something that I like to focus on a lot are grids. So everyone is different, whether you use rulers, grids, however you want to do it. I'm more of a grid person. It helps me keep everything, of course, in alignment, and it just makes me feel more in control of what I'm working on.
Yeah.
And I always use a 12-column grid when designing for a desktop, because having 12 columns is going to give you a lot of versatility, because you can do, you can of course, you know, have halves, you can do quarters, there's just more room to play there. So let's see, I already have my grid set up, so I'm going to go ahead. Some more names
coming in here. Earl Grey, Wolf Grey, Grey Wolf, some good names. Mamba Grey, aw, Mamba.
Oh.
Chris had to bring that in, didn't he?
Okay, we have 2 for Wolf Grey. Let's go ahead and just name it Wolf Grey. I like it. It's kind of like a cool color too, so to like name it Wolf Grey, I like it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So going back to the grid concept or workflow, or whatever you want to call it, what's really for those who don't use grids, what's really the importance of, you know, using a grid system on your designs?
So the importance there is, again, it's really just setting that foundation for as you design. So like as I go ahead and duplicate artboards, it's going to keep that grid universally. And then over here in your grid panel, you can come in here and it's so much easier. So like I really like rulers. You'll see rulers on my artboards, but you have more control this way. Like if I want to just suddenly change it to 10 columns and set column widths and gutter widths, like it's just much more easily accessible for me than rulers. And that's the reason. Yeah,
and really for the viewer's perspective, it really helps, you know, when things are nicely aligned in, you know, nicely aligned in space and that sort of thing. It really helps their eye kind of move across the page, move down the page. And if things are all, you know, zigzagged it's just a bad experience. So making sure that your grids are set up, making sure all of your elements nicely aligned to those grids is just going to give your viewers a much better experience.
Yep, and then you're going to have your elements, of course, snapped to columns, which is very, very helpful. So let's go ahead and let's get a background color in here. Of course, you can do, well, actually, I want to use a background image. Otherwise, you can just set the artboard color.
Before we get to that, we've got chat and win.
Oh my God, okay.
Yeah, that went by quickly.
Super fast.
Yeah, so we're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, Abdullah saying, Katie Gray. When we come back, let us know, what should we ask them in the chat?
What's your favorite Pokemon?
Ooh, yeah, throw that in the chat. We're going to take a very quick break. And we're back. So, yeah, throw some stuff in the chat. Let us know what your favorite Pokemon is. We've got Bulbasaur and Pikachu. Pikachu's like a fan of Psyduck.
Psyduck.
That's always a fun one. My dog reminds me of Psyduck. Charizard, of course. Fun story about Charizard. So when I was, one of my favorite moments gaming ever, when Pokemon Go first came out, it was like the biggest thing when it first came out. We were in Long Beach. And we were I don't remember what we were doing down there, but we were catching Pokemon. And there was someone found a wild Charizard. And once word got out, it was madness. I posted the video on Facebook and Twitter. It was just insane. There must have been 1,000 people, all running down Long Beach, blocking cars, trying to get to this one area where this wild Charizard was. It was wonderful. It was a great experience. But Jennifer just won 100 free stickers from Sticker Mule. You can design all the Pokemon on those stickers if you want to. So congratulations. Someone from Behance will get in touch with you very shortly. And if you did not win, you can still go to stickermule.com/Adobe Live 20. It used to be Adobe Live 19, but now it's 20. I guess it makes sense because it's 2020.
Yeah.
You know. Go there, you get 10 stickers for $1, which is still pretty good. So there you go. Sweet.
The fish that drops on the ground but turns into a dragonfish. Okay.
Oh, Magikarp, probably.
Yeah,
That's an interesting way of explaining Magikarp.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
My favorite water Pokemon is Magikarp.
I finally got a shiny Magikarp the other day in Pokemon Go.
I saw that.
Yeah, finally.
That is awesome. All right, well, diving back into this login page, I know that I'm gonna want to have a background color, or sorry, background image. I've gone ahead and already pulled the image that I want to drop back there. And it's gonna be this sort of like pink, wavy, it's kind of like PlayStation-esque. If you've ever, played the PlayStation, it's kind of like that background.
That's fancy.
Okay.
I like that. It's not too overdone, but it's also, subtle enough and colorful enough that it kind of works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that's full screen.
Alberto's asking, what level am I? I think I'm like 36 or 37. Haven't hit 40 yet.
James says, oh man, those 6 months of Pokemon Go craze were such a pure time. Weren't they? I felt like the world just came together
I know,
for those
right?
months.
That first 6 months or so was, we still play it very heavily. It's gotten really good in the last year or so, but yeah, those first 6 months were, it felt different. I've never experienced something like that. Like, you just walk in the street and people were talking to you, like, did you catch something today? It was weird, but it was good.
Yeah, and it got everyone to get out of their house and go outside, and people were making friends. It was great.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm gonna go ahead and just drag a rectangle onto my artboard. This is gonna be the login/signup panel.
All right.
So let's see, I'm leaving 3 columns on either side, kind of keep it separated, or not separated, but aligned right. That might be a little bit too thick, but then if I make it 4 columns, it feels like it's too thin.
It's not too bad, though. It's hard to, a lot of experimentation.
It's very true. So maybe we'll come back to that.
And thanks, Leo. Most of my stuff now these days is all XD, but maybe I'll get back into Photoshop at some point. But thanks for subscribing. Are we gonna add a background blur to that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so before we do that, I want to apply some a radius here. So I'm gonna go ahead and maybe give this a 10. What does that look like? That's pretty good. It's good enough. And maybe give it, I'm so used to working with grids on, and I realize like how bothersome that must be to like have to look past. I'm just gonna try to keep those off. Yes, let's see, background blur. Maybe bring this up just a bit. 80, maybe 90. It's pretty good.
Yeah, when you're working with background blurs, especially when there's a background that has a lot of elements behind it, you don't want to like, when you had it originally, you probably want to avoid that. Because I think I mentioned this last week during my masterclass, is if you have a background blur that really has too many colors going on, or it's too transparent, then it's going to be very difficult to put content on top of this, login screen.
Yep.
But now you got a little bit of purple coming through, a little bit of blurring going on. So pretty much any text or any buttons you put on there will look great on that white.
We want to make sure we're gonna have enough contrast there too for accessibility reasons.
Yes.
Something else that I thought of is like, for example, like in PlayStation's interface, you see that as well. I kind of like got this background blur going on, so we're still like kind of staying true to the theme there. So I think I want to have a little bit of fun here. I don't think I want to do like a typical sign up / sign in. With most web interfaces, I would say definitely keep that, but it's Adobe XD Live and we're getting crazy with it.
Oh boy.
I think I want to do a load save data and a create a save data.
Okay, that's interesting.
So,
it kind of fits in that gamer vibe we're going for.
Yeah. Let's see, load save data.
Now here's a question. If you're going, because obviously, you're going for a gamer kind of feel to this. Do you feel that, and this isn't a real project, so maybe you don't have to think too hard about this, but do you feel that going in that direction could alienate and push some users away who may not be gamers?
Yes, 100%. So, like you said, this probably won't be a real application. When you're designing for the web, we kind of have these defined universal things already that you don't want to change. Like, for example, sign in, login. Those are already established. You don't want to mess with that.
Yep.
But because we're kind of having fun, going for a game vibe, we're just gonna run with it and see what happens. Yeah, but 100% there. This may be a little bit different than most web interfaces.
Yeah. Jonathan's asking, is there a way to share this grid for developers? That's a good question. Does it, and we'll probably get to this at some point, but when you export for development, it shows the grid, right? I think?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll play with that a little bit later. To touch on development really quick, so when you're designing and you're working alongside a developer, it's important to ask, what grid they're going to be working on, so you guys are on the same page as well, and kind of like having that open communication to make sure you guys are both working on the same grid, and it should show it in development as well.
Yeah, I love that idea of being on the same page as your developer, because I think it's so important. There's the debate always. I think Chris Cannon was talking about this on Twitter not too long ago, is should designers know how to code, right? And I mean, that's sort of a personal preference, and of course, based on your employer, some may require that. It's a little bit weird, but I think at the very bare minimum, you should understand what your developers are going through, and your developers should understand what you're going through. That way you don't hand off a design that's completely uncodable or completely over the top. It's going to give someone a bad user experience, or that the developers will have to make compromise in order to bring it to life. So you should definitely speak with your developers as much as possible, as early as possible. That way you know what the grid system is and all the fun stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
And even just, you don't have to know how to code, but understand, like you said, the limitations. Because the most frustrating thing, of course, is like if you come up with this amazing design and, you put so much work and effort into it and hand off to the developer, and he or she is like, I can only do half of this because this is just asking for way too much, or it's not feasible. So even as you're designing, like run things by your developer. Be like, hey, like, how would this work on your end? How much work will this be for you? It's so important.
Totally.
So we have load save data, create save data, and we have this little rectangle up here, which is going to be the site logo. I still don't have a name for it, so maybe chat can help us out with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming down here, we're going to
So if anyone is just joining and wants to think of some names, do a very quick recap on what this idea is that you're working on.
So let's turn grid off really quick. This is going to be a to-do app, to-do web app that has to do with creating a community for creatives as well. Let me just pop over here. The goal should be more than enough. So yeah, just create a fun to-do web application that gives creatives a fun way to keep track of, share their to-dos, track progress, and become part of a community. In this, we're going for a video game theme. Okay, so coming down here, we're gonna have a form. Let's see. While this web app is gonna be a little bit different than your standard web app, there are some points that I do wanna hit on just for, accessibility reasons. So some research that was done recently, if you guys have seen like the underlined forms, and then it'll have like the label like above it, and then like this will be like a color. Those actually surprisingly don't perform as well as the ones that are just completely outlined all around.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and let's make some of those.
Yeah, I've run into, I lost my voice. I've run into that myself where sometimes I land on a page, especially mobile. I think one of the best examples that I've found is, I'll try to find it. I think it was on FedEx's website. If you go, not to grind on FedEx or anything, but I think it was on their website on the mobile view where the tracking code is. I think it was just like basically a line with a very, very light gray box on a white background. And you really couldn't tell if that's something where you have to put the tracking number in. But if it's, like you were saying, if it's just like an outline, we kind of know as users, based on the last, 10 years or so, that that's probably a form field that you have to tap in or click in and then type something in.
Yes, and then it's very important too to have placeholder text as well, right? So we always want to make sure this has placeholder text. Because like, think of like if you're typing and you're like, oh man, like what was that supposed to be again?
Yeah. Now in this situation, you have, email at the top. Would you also kind of repeat that down below inside of that form field?
Yeah, so this is actually gonna be a perfect moment for repeat grid. So let's go ahead, let's make sure our layers are named, which is something I have not been doing, which you should do. Especially if you're gonna like hand this off to another designer and they're gonna be like, hey, like what the heck is rectangle 460? Like,
I mean, they should know what rectangle 460 is.
I have had like some design files that are like rectangle 460, 475, it's terrible.
It happens a lot.
Not good practice. Form inputs. And then let's make sure these are grouped properly. I want these to be grouped. So it's still gonna be form input.
And when you're at an early stage and you're designing like this, do you just worry about blocking things out, or do you start creating components early on, or do you save that for later?
For that, it's really dependent on the project. In this case, we're gonna go ahead and just start making components, but I mean, sometimes I'll wait to start making components because if a project like isn't, fully fleshed out yet, I hesitate to make components because I end up like ungrouping them later, and then it gets to be a really big mess. So really, you just gotta ask yourself like what you would prefer to use at this stage in the design.
Totally.
So now that we have our email component, the way I did that is I just right-clicked and make component. I know a lot of people use the shortcut, which is Command or Control K. You can do that as well. So clicking on it, I'm gonna come up here and press repeat grid and just drag that out.
You didn't boop.
I was hoping you would, and then you didn't.
Oh, damn.
Howard.
It's an invalid repeat grid now.
We have to start over. Okay, ready? I thought you were gonna do
Only when you press the button.
Oh, okay. Ready?
Yep. Boop. There you go.
Cool, there we go.
This is quality content, folks.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and set some padding. We don't want them to be like too far apart, right? Because like some people will press tab, other people are gonna wanna click to the next form, so maybe like 25. Let's call it 20. No, let's call it 30. Is 30 too much? See, this is probably one of my biggest flaws. Like I'll sit here and I'll like play with like 1 pixel for like the longest time.
Oh, all the time.
And let me know if you guys are the same, but like I never can have it, I have to have it be like an odd number. Maybe that's just like the development side, I don't know.
And it also depends, going back to what we were talking about earlier, it also depends on your developer. Sometimes they like to work on like 8 pixels, so it has to be like 24 or 32 or whatever it might be. But also sometimes it depends on how things are looking inside of this box. If you just have the email field, the password field, and a button, then you might be able to kind of spread that repeat grid out a little bit to give both of those a little bit of breathing room because you don't want them kind of scrunched up on top of each other.
Right. Maybe I'll just go with my initial thought of 30. Even that feels too tight, but I'm not gonna get caught up on it. So what I'm gonna do now is like I'm noticing that this text, I want it to be lighter, and since we've already made components and done repeat grid, I can come in here and change it once and it'll change across the board, which is super nice.
And what typeface are you using there?
So this is a typeface called Averta. I just got this typeface and it is by far my favorite so far. What I really like about it is it's very versatile. So for this typeface, you can really use it, for web design, for print design. It's just so versatile, and I really enjoy it.
There's a ton of weights there.
Oh yeah, a ton of weights.
I love that.
I like actually end up using a good amount of them. Like if you ever have those weights that you don't really use as much, or I use a good amount of them.
Yeah, Verta's a good one. Obviously, Poppins is one that's used probably too much by me. I've been using Avenir a lot, Avenir Pro, I think, and Acumen Pro. Those are pretty good ones.
I used Poppins in my intro Adobe XD deck because I had to like pay homage to the good old Poppins.
Of course.
Okay, so we have email, we have password. That's more than enough for right now. Let's go ahead and make a button. So I'm thinking, let's go ahead and have this button span 2 columns, so we're kind of keeping it right in the center of that panel and keeping a nice weight to it. This is where your color choice is really important, right? Because like when you're making a color palette, you have to think through like what's going to be my primary color that I'm going to be using for buttons, for CTAs, call to actions, things like that. So I'm really feeling, I don't know if that's too pink. I mean, we can use Pinsky, we can use Poppins Purple.
It's tricky because, especially when you're going with like a pink or a red for your primary color, you want to be careful with that because sometimes red indicates either error or something wrong or something you should not press. This is why, if you look at a lot of buttons on the web, they're often blue or gray of some sort, depending on the background.
We'll see a lot of finance apps use blue as well, or social apps. I mean, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, they're all some sort of hue of blue because to the brain that makes us feel comfortable, like safe. With red, it's a little bit more playful. That's why I kind of went with a little bit more of a pinky tone, so it's not so much as like a warning color. Okay, that's good. Let's go ahead and give this a curve. Let's make this, 10 to keep it consistent with this. And should we have this say, like, see, typically when you're designing for the web, this would just, again, be sign in, sign up.
Yep.
Load save data could work, but it would feel like repetitive. Let's just keep it as this for right now. If you guys have any ideas for what I should, name the button, how you guys feel about this so far, let me know.
I also did see, it's way up there somewhere, but some people suggested names. I think they were all kind of on the Quest reference side of things.
Yes, and that makes me so glad that you guys bring that up, or that you guys are suggesting Quest, because as we delve into the To-Do app, to-dos are actually called quests. So like your monthly goals are your main quests, and then your daily goals are going to be your side quests.
Yeah. Jan Erik is saying that the content is not centered horizontally. I cannot unsee this.
Let's see here. Let's see. This is centered. There we go.
Looks like it might be, right?
I think we are.
It was pretty close.
Are we off?
I think it looks okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're gonna want this to fit comfortably. Maybe I'll make this a little bit smaller and kind of bring this down.
Val's loving the gamification of this app. Me too.
Do you guys use any to-do apps? And if so, what do you like about them?
And what don't you like about them? Because I think that's an opportunity to, figure out what's not resonating well with users in some of those apps and then try to improve on them.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good point.
I think for me, the main thing I don't like about some of the apps is just they're boring.
Yeah.
Which I think something like this would possibly solve for it, because for me at least, as a gamer, it resonates with me. Some people it may not, which is the tricky thing. It's the challenge of designing something like this is it's made for gamers, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe some people might venture into it, but if they're not gamers or they just couldn't care less about gamification, then it's not even gonna work well with them.
Right. Okay, so what I've done now is I've gone ahead, named the button primary button, because something that we want to think about too is like as we're creating components is like where else are we going to be using these components, right? So like across the site, you should probably have a universal primary button. Like there's no reason to have like 20 different buttons. You're going to confuse your users. It's just not good practice.
Yep.
So here's my primary button. I made a component. It sits in my components panel now, and I can drag and drop. Let's go ahead and get this.
And what's great about using components, if anyone out there has not used components yet, is that it really allows you to, design just once and it just updates everywhere. Kind of like what we were talking about earlier with the colors. But if you had that button scattered across your entire project, you can just make changes to that one button. Especially, and you're probably gonna get into states at some point, but once you get into states, then even the states kind of link up to the master state of the master state of the master component. It's kind of a little bit tricky to understand, but being able to just update the rounded corners on one master component and it just propagates to everything, including the states, is just so valuable.
100%.
Yes, we've got Notion. A lot of people are using Notion.
Notion, okay.
Yeah.
I've heard really good things about that one.
Todoist, Basecamp. Diego tried To Do. I think someone said Google something or other up there. I can't see it anymore, but yeah.
No, those are great. I personally use Wunderlist. Yeah, I think they just changed over to Microsoft To Do. So, okay. So actually, speaking of states, let's go ahead and let's make a hover state. Let's have some fun.
Ooh, fancy.
So we have our component made, so we can come up here into our components panel, click on the little plus sign, and just simply select hover state. And so if you are a longtime Adobe XD user, you know that hover states are amazing.
I was so happy to finally make that video about hover, because as someone internally, I knew it was coming, obviously, but I had to, months, probably even longer than that, of just people asking, where's hover? When's hover coming? We have auto animate, why can't we have hover? And obviously, these things take time to really get right, but that was a good day.
100%, because otherwise you're gonna have 5 different artboards for your 5 different button states.
Yeah, no one wants to deal with that.
No one wants that.
No.
Okay, so we have hover state selected. Hover state's a pretty good name. And let's go ahead and just darken it a little bit. I don't want to get too crazy. Let me just darken it about there. So now coming back up here, selecting default state, previewing my prototype and hovering over it, we see that hover animation.
I wonder, question for the chat, if any of you are gamers, what can we incorporate, not me, what can Kate incorporate? I'm just sitting here. What can Kate incorporate as she's designing this for if she wants to really get fun with this hover effect? When you hover over top of it, what could be there? What can happen that kind of, goes on the lines of gaming? if you want to get crazy. I mean, you probably shouldn't get crazy with the hover effects, but if we wanted to, hypothetically, what can we add?
Yeah, that would be great.
A little coin popping out, or I don't know.
Let us know. That would be super fun.
Yeah.
I'm seeing in the chat some name suggestions come through, and I'm loving them. So I'm going to start taking note, and we can vote on them.
And I'll also bring up the chat here, just in case we miss some.
Okay, we have Eric says Can Quest. I love that.
Let me go back, because I know that Jack had some. So Valerie says quest check earlier. Oh yeah, Jack just said quests.
Just quests? Okay,
yeah.
That's cool. Love it. A controller icon. There we go. Maybe that could be like part, I don't know if we're gonna get into logo design. We probably won't in this stream, but in the future, maybe that could be part of the logo.
Yeah.
Hide and seek, make the art for the icon item you're hovering over. Evolve. That would be so fun. That might be a little bit time
maybe
heavy,
tomorrow,
tomorrow.
If we have a little bit more time, we can get really creative with these hover effects.
She can create a button that goes off the screen and serves coffee. I would love buttons even more than I already do. Requests.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
There we go. Okay. Cool. And then keep on leaving us your suggestions. I'll pop them into the artboard as we get some more. Okay, coming back over here, we just finished up the hover state on our button. I think that's pretty good for right now. I think we can start to move on to the home page because, you know, on click of this button, I want it to move over to the home page, which I guess we can just actually wire up right now. You can have multiple interactions on an element. So we see that this one kind of already has the hover going on, which is automatic thanks to states. But double clicking on that component, I can drag the arrow down to the home page artboard. And I want it to be on tap. I want it to auto animates, okay? To the home page. And then let's figure out easing in duration once we have the home page design, or you know what, let's just set it to transition for right now.
Yeah.
If we want to get fancy with it later, we can get fancy, but let's just leave it at transition for right now.
Jan Eric is adding cat to everything now. Cat OS Catalina. Cat Book Pro.
Yo, Kate Kassab, that's so cute.
Howard Katsky. There we go.
Cat Book Pro.
Adding cat to everything does sound better.
Resize the button, Diego says. How big do you want to see it, Diego? Do you want to see it bigger? Do you want to see it smaller?
He may have also been talking about when you hover over it, it kind of gets a little bit larger.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly.
Let's do that real
That could be
quick.
fun.
That could be super fun. So we're on the default state. Let's pop back over to hover. Back in the design area. Let's go ahead and holding Alt-Shift. What that's going to do is you're going to be keeping all of your proportions and you're going to be scaling it up from the middle. So like for example, if I just dragged this out, I'm losing that ratio. It's not doing it from the center. But when I do Alt and Shift and I drag it up, it's kind of like resizing that whole button. But since we're a component right now, we're going to have to do a little bit extra work.
So it's a good thing you're doing this because I want to stress something. So go back to your default state. And then go back to the hover state. Oh, after you resized it.
Oh.
So resize it again.
Let's see, default state. This is gonna drive me crazy if I don't center it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so see how that's synced? Now it's both the same size. And if you were to enlarge your hover state the way you did it, right?
Oh, so let's see, let's go back. It's default, hover state, enlarge.
So do that, enlarge that, and then go back to your default state. You're noticing that it doesn't line up properly. And a lot of users are running or run into this from time to time, and we get that question asked a lot, is why is that happening? So what I want to point out is that if you are creating hover states that have different sized elements, like you're enlarging, for example, don't grab the entire component. Because that change will, it's difficult to explain and how it works on the back end, but those resizes don't really work well for whatever reason. You'll want to dive into the component and select the individual elements. That'll basically tell XD to resize from a specific point.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's
That
start.
was probably a terrible explanation.
No,
But
it
once
made
you see
sense.
it, it'll make sense.
Okay, so diving into hover state,
Yeah.
let's dive into the primary button and select each of them.
Yeah, you can just select the background if you wanted to.
Okay, so let's just.
And then
select-
just,
There we go.
yeah.
Kind of make that a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And now it scales from the center. Whoop.
Boop. Look at
There
that.
you go.
Nice.
Yeah, so Diego runs into that problem too. So just keep that in mind.
Procrastinator, Jan
Oh,
says. Let's go ahead
Interesting. Anthony likes procrastinator too. It's a good one.
Question. Alex says, I'm not sure how this would be prototyped, but when somebody clicks the CTA, a loading sound would add the video game feel. That'd be really cool.
That could be fun. And actually one of our, I think he's a designer on the XD team, Sam Anderson on Twitter, tweeted not too long ago. Something to do with audio.
I do remember that.
Yeah. I don't know what that could be, possibly, but you know.
I would have like way too much fun with that.
I know. I would just put boops on everything. But yeah, he tweeted something.
Makes you think.
I know, right? But that would be cool.
Okay, so coming back to the home page, we just finished up prototyping the button to lead there with the transition effect. So now on click of the button, oh wait, maybe we didn't. Let's go back real quick. Prototype, tap, transition. Oh, it's on the rectangle. Let's see here. Let's just take that off. So selecting the whole component, double click. Doing something
So
wrong
so see that little plus button?
there? Oh yeah.
You can just drag that plus button over to
Perfect.
drag out a new one. Yep. There we go.
Tap transition. That doesn't really matter. There we go. Cool.
Fancy.
Okay. So let's see. For the home page, even though I really like the way that this is all lined up, when I import my sketches into my XD file, I move my sketches to wherever like I'm working, so I don't have to like
Yeah.
travel all the way across, right? Okay, so this is what I had initially designed for the home page. It was sort of, reminiscent of, if we come over here, like a sort of like Nintendo sort of dashboard where you have these panels. But then I ended up deciding that, at the end of the day, as much fun as I want to have this is a web experience, and I don't want to throw like accessibility and experience out the window because that's
Right.
never what we want to do.
No.
So we may rethink homepage, and maybe we'll have this just be a fun little like dashboard option where like a user on click of maybe we'll have like a power button, they can come, click on that and something like this pops up if they want to navigate like that. But let's revisit homepage. What would you guys want to see on a homepage of a to-do app? Like, the most important thing is to create a quest, right? We're just going to stop calling them to-dos. They're quests.
Of course they are.
So the most important thing in this app is to create quests
Yep.
and to support other people's quests. So maybe we're going to want to have a really big area dedicated just to that. We want to keep this simple and straightforward. People don't have time to navigate through a whole website and try to search for things.
Yeah, and I can imagine as a new user coming to this page for the first time, I might not really be familiar with what the process is.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe a tutorial is probably not the way to go because that's a little bit annoying, but maybe for the first user, it's just like very simple. There's just a box and a button that says create new quest, right? And then maybe eventually after you've created your first quest, maybe that's when you start putting the feed in there because you might want to see other people's quests.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe on the first launch, it's just going to be overwhelming.
Right.
So maybe just like really simplify the process. New quest, button, and then like a little modal with the quest information, that sort of thing. Or even you just don't even have the button. You just have like a little box with all the information about that quest. I don't know.
I love it.
Just thinking out loud as someone who may never have come to this page before, what would I want to see? And I would love, again, like you mentioned, I would love to see what the chat thinks as well.
Yeah, we have Helene saying checkpoint for task completion. Yep, definitely on the list.
Yep.
Boop stickers need to be added to the chat and win. I agree, Justin. Level up rewards, yes. So to touch on that really quick, you know, in most, like for PlayStation, for example, they have trophies. I thought that maybe we could do like badges, and they could be like really fun, thoughtful badges that, you know, designers come up with. So if we have some time, you know, this really is about workflow, and so we are going to be diving into Illustrator at some point. Maybe with some extra time we can create some fun badges.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yes. Okay, so back to the homepage. We've got today's top quester / leaderboard, says Valerie. We have do it like a tutorial how the app works. Yeah, tutorial, I love the idea. It just might take a little bit too much time to make before we actually dive into it.
Yeah.
Quest list.
Or quest log.
Quest log.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a name suggestion?
Well, so Abdi said quest list. I'm just thinking some of the games that I've played. Sometimes it's called a quest list, sometimes called a quest log. And that could kind of be where all of your quests are stored.
I love it. Okay, so you know what? We are gonna run with it. So on a homepage, right? So we're gonna have some sort of navigation at the top, right?
Yeah.
So this is gonna be super, like literally, we're gonna create in grays. And I know we have our wonderful color palette, but I take too long to decide on colors when I'm placing them, so we're just gonna come back to that later. So we're gonna have a nav bar up here at some point, or not at some point, during the whole experience. And then maybe right up here at the top, we'll have this like section where, you know, it's really big, you can't miss it, like where to add in a quest.
Yeah, Nazim is saying a simple dashboard stating what the current progress of the most recent quest. Yeah, I like that idea. Some sort of like a progress indicator, whether it's like a loading bar type of thing, or what else? Maybe like level up hearts or something.
Yes. So you know how I talked about having the two different types of quests. So we have our main quests and our side quests. So maybe, you know, when the user hits their personalized homepage, they see their main quest up here with their progress bar.
Yeah.
Because those are supposed to be your monthly to-dos. So let's go ahead and we're just gonna create a super like lo-fi idea really quick, and we can iterate as we go.
Yep.
So we're gonna do main quest, is my line spacing? Let's see, main quest progress.
And I think this is so important when you're talking about, you know, blocking things out as, you know, in a lo-fi format, is that when, especially in a situation like this where you don't really know where things are gonna go, you don't really know what the main purpose of the homepage is, what information is most vital. And once you start just like, if you were to just jump into the high fidelity stuff, then anyone you pass this along to is going to get way distracted by the pretty colors, the pretty graphics, and that sort of thing. And they're not going to really be able to give you good feedback on the user experience. But if you're blocking things out like this, very simple, just a bunch of text, very few colors, then any user who might be looking at this will know exactly what they should be looking for and can give you valuable feedback.
Absolutely. I've jumped into projects where I tried to start with you know, the illustrations and the color and all that, and it doesn't work.
No.
Because then you end up spending all this time on things you're probably going to iterate off of, you know, later on before it even gets in front of people.
Totally. Val's saying it would be cool if you lost a life if a deadline passes and you still haven't finished a quest. Ooh.
That is a really good idea.
I like that. And you lose all your hearts and you just die.
We kick you off the site. We delete your log or your user information.
I like that idea.
Not
the dying part, the losing. Never mind. Losing the life part. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I love it. So this is where, you know, you got to start thinking about, you know, how am I going to block this out? Because having a progress bar span the whole width of a site, that's not a good idea, right? That's way too much to look at. So maybe I want this kind of like off to the side, right? That's even like too thick. Let's just round that out a bit. We did 10 earlier, but 10 doesn't really work as well there. So let's try, 30 is good.
Yeah, when in doubt, just round out the whole thing.
When in doubt, round it out. Okay, so we have main quest, track your progress. That's gonna have a fill in it at some point. I'll create that later, because again, I'm trying not to get caught up in like colors or anything like that. So let's just
oh my gosh, Val says if you lose too much life, it sends a notification to your friends list for them to motivate you. Oh my gosh.
You get an automated email from us telling you to like get it together.
I like this.
And then like at some point, actually you're gonna wanna see like what that quest is that you're trying to complete, right? So like maybe, where should we have the main quest details? Should it be like?
Yeah, to me it would probably be like right at the top under main quest. Yeah.
So does anyone else, like when you're creating like new text, like I always just like duplicate the text, drag down and rename, because going, or you know, pressing T for the type tool or grabbing the type tool over here just is too much effort for me.
It's so true though. I mean, if the element is there, you might as well use it.
Right? Okay, so this is where we're gonna use a plugin.
Ooh.
So, let's see. I know that, you know, this is probably gonna be like 2 or 3 sentences long. Maybe let's just have that come out to there. For now, let's set a font size. Let's call it 20 is pretty good for desktop. Maybe let's just call it 22 because this is still kind of like in the header area of the app. 22 is good. Let's drop it to, let's try regular. And now with this selected, we're gonna come down into our plugins manager. And for this, we're just gonna use, you know, quick lorem ipsum.
Good old lorem ipsum.
And all I did is quick lorem ipsum trim height, and it's just gonna fill that whole text box that you dragged out.
Yeah. There's also, for anyone wondering, if you want to use slightly more real data, I think the plugin's called Wikify, possibly.
Yeah.
Which does something it basically pulls information from Wikipedia, I believe, and it fills in whatever text box you have active. So that's another option you can go down.
Yes, it is always better to use real data in your applications.
Yeah, especially with like a radical idea like this, where it's very different from your typical to-do list or to-do application. Having real data can definitely convey the message to whoever's looking at it.
Let's go ahead and download it, actually. It's called Wikify?
I think so.
Let's
Wiki
play
something.
with Wikify. Oh, I did Wikify. Wikify. There we go.
That's the one.
Sweet. Install that. What's your guys' favorite plugin?
I think for me it'd probably be, I mean, it depends on what I need, right? The Google Sheets plugin is so amazing. I use it so often. Yeah, Justin's saying sad the map plugin went away. Yeah, I think the developer, there was some issues on the back end and it just stopped working, so they got rid of it. But what was I gonna say? UI Faces is probably one of my favorite plugins,
Yes.
especially with the this person that does not exist integration.
Isn't that crazy, you
It's
guys?
the
Like,
craziest
the people look so real. I don't know how they do it. Okay, so we have Wikify downloaded. I'm just gonna go ahead and type in gaming. Press Wikify. There we go. Pulled up a sentence from Wikipedia.
What if you put in Quest?
Let's try
Gotta be
that.
careful with this because sometimes if you put in the wrong keyword, it could pull from a weird page.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Or Gaming Quest or something like that. Undraw's a good plugin, yeah.
Let's do Quest. Keeps wanting to jump over there.
Okay.
Sure, you know
That kinda
what?
worked.
We're gonna run with it.
There you go. Fancy. And now it's a little bit more real.
I am gonna wanna fill in this white space at some point. Have like a sort of like 70-30 split going on. Not quite sure with what yet. We'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on something else as far as plugins. Oh, Stark. So
Oh, yeah. 'Cause
Stark.
you were talking about accessibility earlier.
Yes, Stark is one of my favorites, guys, because accessibility is so important when you're designing for literally anything. So what Stark does is, let's go ahead and let's test the accessibility or the contrast of this button against this background. So if I press this button and this background come up here to start, and let's just check contrast. Oops, too many layers. You can only run it against 2 layers. Okay, so what we're gonna have to do, what are you? You're this, and you're this. Can I not run it against components?
That's a good question. I haven't tried yet.
Okay, so we only have the rectangle selected. Let's try to select, oh, I don't want, let's see. You, yeah, it wants to like select the whole component.
Oh.
Damn, okay, so what we can do instead, let's just create a rectangle. Let's go full screen. And then by making this rectangle the pink color, now these are technically only 2 layers, right? Now I should be able to run it. Check contrast. And hey, we meet AA.
There we go.
AA is standard. AAA is even better, obviously. I would shoot for AAA if you can. Why not, right?
And I'm just curious, if you go to that background layer and maybe take the background or take the transparency of the background blur all the way down to 0, just to kind of like nail home what we were talking about earlier.
Like make it like there?
No, not that one. The transparency of the background. Yeah. Yeah, do that. Now run it. Let's see. I'm curious to see if the Stark plugin recognizes the color of the background or if it just uses the main. Okay.
So yeah, that's a problem.
Okay, so it's something to definitely keep in the back of your mind that I guess it looks at the main color and ignores the background blur. But keep in the back of your mind that if you are using a background blur like that, that's like super blurry and super transparent, that it may not play well with contrast.
Yes, well, yeah, like Howard said, just be careful of that. Justin said, sad the map plugin went away. Does anyone know of another map plugin? I do not.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a new plugin or a replacement plugin, but I've been using Snazzy Maps. It's one of my all-time favorite websites.
That's the best name ever.
Isn't it?
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, snazzymaps.com.
We're gonna check this out right now.
You should do it. And while you're doing that, we have about 12 minutes until we take a look at challenge submissions. So get those into Discord in the current challenge channel. Yeah.
Wow, this is really cool.
And at the top, you can explore styles, and they have like hundreds, if not thousands, of different map styles. And then you can dive in and search for a specific location, and you can completely customize these maps. So if you find one that you like the color aesthetic, you can turn on water, you can turn off street names, you can turn on parks, and you can customize. Then you can download, I think, up to 10 maps of high resolution per day.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I used it for, actually it's not released yet, but I'm using it for something that I'm working on that will be released probably next week. But yeah, it's a super cool map. Super cool service. Nice. I wish they had a plugin. That'd be really cool. They do have a plugin section at the top, but I don't think they have an XD plugin.
Oh my gosh, look at how clever their icon is, or their logo.
Cool? Yeah.
Like the little location dropper, and then it's like a paintbrush.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Very clever.
Nice. So you can check that out.
Oh, so Nazim is saying unmap or umap.
Umap. Is it an
umap? Might be a plugin.
Let's see.
The more you know. We have so many plugins. It's hard to keep track of them all.
Umap?
Look at that.
Wow. Let's test it out, because that's super neat. So it said I should be able to...
Yeah, Aaron, Snazzy Maps is exactly what I need for a project I'm working on. Yeah, once you really start diving into Snazzy Maps, you're going to spend a lot of time creating maps and customize them.
Oh, it's in another language. I might not be able to figure this out. Well, you should be able to just click on the rectangle. I think this is probably asking for a location.
Could be.
And then you press what I assume to be like fill it in, and it should fill the rectangle in for you. That is super cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
That page is looking pretty good so far.
All right, let's see. I really liked the idea of having like hearts, right? So like if you don't do a certain quest, like you lose a life. So lives are pretty important. Maybe we'll include lives over here.
And that could be another opportunity for a plugin if you don't want to. I mean, you can obviously create a heart, with the pen tool or many different ways, but Yeah, plugin, there you go.
Plugins, you guys, plugins are amazing. They make life so much easier. Definitely explore the ones Adobe XD has to offer because there are so many. So for this, I'm gonna be using what's called icons, the number 4, and then design. So if we go ahead and just type in heart, we can see we have some pretty good ones. Let's go ahead and use a filled one. It'll drop it on the corner of my artboard for me.
These are all vector, and I believe they're all open source as well. So you can use them as you wish.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So let's see, let's pretend that I've already lost a life, right?
Aww.
Let's say that I didn't do, what I was supposed to do. So what we're gonna do is let's go ahead and just make a good old repeat grid. We're gonna keep it to 3 hearts. And then we are going to, what do we wanna have happen? Maybe these 2 are red, right? Well, let's use, see, this is where I don't wanna dive into color yet. I don't wanna get too distracted. So let's just leave them right now. We can always come back to that. So we know that our heart placement, maybe we want that. Somewhere over here, right?
This is the joy of designing. It's like you put the hearts over there, then you put them over to the left, then you put them underneath. And it's just like, you spend hours. People think designing is like you just dive in there and make something pretty in 10 minutes. But literally I've spent hours and hours just moving things around the screen. Does it look good there? Or maybe over here? No, maybe down there. Well, maybe if I put it down here, it looks good, but the text doesn't look good now. So I gotta move the text over there. The life of a designer.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, so we have your main quest for the month. You can see where your progress is. I'm gonna center this a little bit more. Just a little bit. That's fine for right now. And then maybe let's get into some panels down here where, you can view, actually no, next let's give the user an option to, of course, add a quest. So now we're gonna block out another section.
Oh, so Joe is saying you can add a broken heart too.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, that could be a good idea.
Yeah. Let's just go ahead and add one for fun. All right, so let's take this repeat grid down to 2 and just add in another one. I always want to drag them.
I know, yeah. Maybe support for drag and drop will come at some point for plugins, maybe. Maybe. And I think Val just nailed it. And she said, if you can dive in and make something pretty in 10 minutes, it probably took you several years to hone that ability. It's so true.
100%.
Yeah, and I think Anthony was talking a lot about that in the last stream this morning with Elisa, and he was really nailing the point that, the craft that you're doing takes years and years and years to perfect. It's not something, you might be born with a little bit of talent, I think is what Anthony was saying, but you have to spend every single day perfecting that skill to get where you are. And even then, it'll never be perfect. You're always gonna, hone your abilities. The industry might change, so you become a neumorphism artist or something like that. Don't even get me started with neumorphism.
Oh my gosh.
I have mixed feelings about that, but things are gonna change all the time, and you have to adapt. So you'll never be perfect. Anthony says, wait, maybe a half heart, like Zelda.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Or like a quarter missing from the heart, like Zelda too.
And they have to be pixelated hearts.
Yes. Maybe that can be something fun we add in later.
Yeah. Justin's saying, question around development coding from XD. Will Adobe do something similar to Webflow? So, that's a big question. I know development from XD is a big topic. Of course, I can't talk too much about the roadmap, but I will say that something like Webflow is a fantastic service. If we were to do something like that, that would be a massive project. So again, I can't talk about the roadmap, but what I will say is that we absolutely hear the need for better development tools and development handoff from Adobe XD. So there will be resources and there will be focus on improving that experience. Whether it's, we not too long ago, we introduced CSS snippets within developer specs. And, you might see more handoff capabilities. You might see more I don't want to give too much away, but you might see more that helps the developer and the coder, the designer and developer experience, so you can work better with your team.
Yes. And I see, you know, a lot of people talking about, you know, Adobe XD versus, you know, designing in Webflow. And I'm someone that believes, like, you can use both in conjunction. Like, why not start out in Adobe XD, build that foundation, build your prototype, and then use that prototype to work off of, you know, when you're designing in Webflow. And I know a lot of people are gonna, you know, say, I can design so much faster in Webflow, it's drag and drop. I love Webflow. Webflow is one of my favorite applications, but when you build in Adobe XD and you have all of your pages right in front of you and you can see, you know, everything working together, it might save you down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately, you have to use the tool that you're most comfortable in. And for me, it's obviously Adobe XD. And like you said, because I've used Webflow before, and it was just easier for me to design in XD, kind of figure out what the page is going to look like, and then use their tools to actually build it. And we've got less than 5 minutes left until the feedback.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this.
I know, me too. And if we don't have any feed or challenge submissions from today, we'll definitely take a look at some from yesterday and the day before and that sort of thing. Jesse's done some pretty cool challenges over the last week and a half.
What's today's theme for the challenge?
I believe it was to design like a yoga tracking meditation type thing. That's a terrible explanation of what that might be.
Okay, so I'm trying to think in the last 5 minutes, right? What can we do that would be fun in the last 5 minutes? XD is a better place to be design your interface. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, and Santaji is saying, I want to see an XD better workflow for atomic design and design systems, object styles and nested. Where'd they go? Yeah. Object styles and nested styles would be needed. Yeah, I think there will definitely see. I think what I'll say is that XD kind of laid a good foundation for a lot of features and improvements coming this year and beyond, right? So we introduced components a while back in May, last May, and then, well, symbols even before that. So symbols was kind of like the groundwork and the foundation for components. And then components was the foundation for states. And then we're going to continue building on states. And then, of course, we have our assets panel. We have linked libraries. We have a lot of auto-animate. So I think there's a lot of foundation there that we're going to continue to build upon and make some of these features even better. And I think, you know, object styles, nested styles, and things like that could definitely fall into that category. Again, I don't want to give too much away of the roadmap because things do change from time to time. But yeah, there's a lot of foundation there that we're going to continue to build upon.
So before I go any further with this super lo-fi, just kind of thinking through what we want to see on the page, let's take a quick detour. Let's jump back over to the names because we have some really good ones going so far. I'm personally really liking CanQuest.
It's a good one.
Because it's, you know, there's positive, just like a positive feeling there. Yeah. Quests I like, but since we already have something called quests in the application itself, I don't want it to be too confusing. Requests is also very good. So far, I'd say CanQuest is our winner.
Go for it.
Let's
I forgot who suggested that. But
who was that?
Good job.
I want to like personally thank them because that's such a good name.
I can see if I can find it. Oh gosh, there's too many chats. If you are in the chat and you did suggest CanQuest, let us know. Maybe Eric, possibly? He said thank you. Oh, there we go. It was me there. Oh, fancy.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, so we're just gonna pop down here, and this is gonna be where you can view like all of your other quests. So, what should a quest be? Chat.
Yeah, we need chat's help.
We need some quests. What are some things that you guys do on the daily? It can be super small to like create a sketch for a homepage application I'm working on to How about we make one get boba? Even
Get
though that's
boba.
not related
Yes.
to design at all.
Yep.
Howard and I are very big boba fans.
Yeah, we had a failed experience yesterday.
Should we tell that story?
Yeah, well, let's tell it after
Okay.
after we're gonna switch over to my screen in a second while you're doing that, and we're gonna take a look at some challenge entries again from the daily challenge. Let me hop over here for a second, and this is the challenge that Jesse Showalter has been running. And today's challenge, I'm not gonna butcher this one. Design the movement tracker for a yoga application. As you design, try designing and prototyping different button states for complete and incomplete movements. And then yesterday's was focusing on libraries, design the purchasing experience for an e-commerce mobile app specializing in running shoes. So let's hop over to Discord. Here's the current challenge channel inside of Discord, and we've got like 32,000 people in here. It's insane. There's almost 900 people online right now. So this one is from Sleuthy Greyhound. That is a great name. This is day number 4. Which one's day number 4? 1, 2, 3. So this is the one for libraries. Okay, let's take a look. Here we go. Oh, people are submitting challenge or quest ideas.
Well,
Coffee, email, mind map. I like that, Justin.
It's great.
I like all of it, except the email. Coffee's good. 404 page, and then watch Adobe XD Daily Challenge. Yeah, and if I had to put a quest in there, I would put upload video for new January feature. I better get on that. There's 4 days left. All right, so this is for the exercise product retail page. All right.
This is great.
Yeah.
I really like the colors in it.
Yeah.
The placement of everything is great. It's intuitive to me.
I love the little flowy boxes. Yeah. If you've been watching my daily challenges from the last time, you know I use a lot of rounded corners and a lot of flowy lines. I will say if we're giving feedback, there's a few things I want to mention. Depending on the device, I'm not sure what device this is, but if it's an iPhone 10, iPhone 11, that sort of thing, you want to be very careful with the edges, because the iPhone, it does have the little the notch at the top, and it has the home indicator at the bottom, so you can't really have stuff too close to the top or the bottom. So if it is for a phone like that, and some Android phones have that as well, I want to be very careful. Give things breathing room. I would also say that the text here, especially for mobile, is a little bit too small. And you do have some room down here, so definitely make that box a little bit larger and increase the size of that text. It looks like it's probably, I don't know, 12 pixels or something. Make it a little bit bigger, just so that you can read it a little bit more easily.
Mm-hmm. And then if I had to offer one bit of feedback, right underneath where you have Hydro Flask on the green one, the text is like a little bit heavy there. To create a certain hierarchy, I might lighten up the font weight just a little bit.
Yep. Or thicken the font weight of Hydro Flask.
Yeah.
Either way, either one works.
Mm-hmm. And then I would probably test the accessibility, the contrast of the colors against that green teal color you have going on.
Yeah.
I feel like some users might not be able to see that blue or that black. The yellow, I'm sure, is fine. But hey, perfect time to use Stark, right?
That's true. Yeah. If I were to be designing this, I would probably say, if you really want to go with the wavy lines at the top, that's great. But for when it comes to colors, maybe just like cut that off here, and then down here would just be white. That way, all the colors will kind of work on that white background, or even, well, you can't do a black background because then this color is going to blend in too much.
Mm-hmm. And even, if you, like Howard said, cut that and had the rest of it beneath be white, you're going to have a stronger CTA call to that button.
That's true.
Because the blue against that white is going to feel really good.
Very true. Nice job. All right.
Very good.
Yeah, I think, with some small tweaks, I think this can go a long way. Oh, his name is Michael O'Leary. Okay. Or Sleuthy Greyhound. I like Sleuthy Greyhound better.
Such a good name.
I think he should change his name. So this one is, I put first 7 days together. Oh, okay. This could be a lot of different things. So this is a Slovenia bank, possibly. Let's see, is there more down here? Okay, there's a prototype. Well, let's dive in and figure this out. So I'm assuming this is the icon here. This is kind of cool. Login experience. So it looks like This kind of confuses me a little bit. I'm not sure what these two, are they options so you can log in with your fingerprint or password? Or, I'm not sure. Oh, what just happened? Oh, okay.
Did you click
on something.
Password, maybe?
I just clicked on a blanket. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's see, so we got accessories. Ooh, that was fancy.
Yeah, look at that. Some nice auto animate going on.
Yeah, I would probably say speed up that transition just a little bit.
As far as easing goes, you know, it's going to be dependent on a lot, but I really do like to stick to about 0.3, 0.5, because I feel like anything above like 0.7 or 1 seconds, people get impatient.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Some other things, you know, I love the colors that you've chosen, but I would almost, you know, wonder if there are ways for you to like sprinkle in those colors instead of having them be sort of blockish down the app, because you have some great colors chosen, but it's kind of the game of like where to place those colors. So I really love those colors in the header and on buttons, but I almost wonder like if you did maybe a white fill or even an outline and had like the ATM icon be that red.
Yeah.
Just ways to make that feel more open and welcoming.
Totally. And I noticed that down here for the navigation bar, you have to scroll down. I'm not sure if that's just the browser or it's the way it was built in the prototype, but make sure that you've got your navigation bar visible at all times and it's just fixed.
Yep.
You can definitely have scrolling going on, but you know, fix that navigation bar so that it's very easily accessible. And very similar to the last, sorry to interrupt, but very similar to the last, you know, example, you've got room down here, right? Of course, if you put the navigation bar, you might have a little bit less room, but let things breathe. Make those boxes a little bit larger, make the text a bit larger. Especially with financial information, you want that text fairly large so that someone can look at it and know exactly how much money they do or do not have. That way they don't read it as like 1,050 instead of 10,050, right? You want to make sure that that text is very visible.
Yes, and then of course, white space is so important in your designs, guys. Like it's something, you will be such a great designer, even a better designer than you already are, if you just really know how to work white space and lead someone's eyes through a design.
Yeah, I see a lot of early on designers, they want to get as much information onto a page as possible. I see this a lot with like Behance profiles or Behance projects, is that everything is like right above the fold.
Yes.
And you know, if someone's really interested in your work, they're going to scroll. So just add white space. Just let things breathe. I know it's very tempting to squeeze everything into one viewport, but just let it breathe.
Yep. And for, you know, people working in, you know, at companies where companies want to get as much above the fold as possible, again, to your point, like if someone, you know, is intrigued by, like you just have to like hit them, right? You know, you have to just like really get their interest and then they'll scroll through. It's not gonna make or break your website if you cram everything up there.
Totally. So this one is from Elner, and this looks pretty fancy. Got some auto animate going on.
Very cool.
He's definitely taken into consideration the notch at the top and the home indicator at the bottom. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier, is that especially with the home indicator, you can't really have anything down there. So you want to give a little bit of breathing room down here so that the buttons can be tapped on and also nothing is being hidden by our lovely notch.
Let's see.
I mean, the only really thing I would point out that's standing out to me are the drop shadows underneath these drop downs. I would say they're they might not be necessary. A lot of times you can get away with a white box and just a gray border. Of course, the drop shadows do improve accessibility a little bit, but they kind of stand out a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, because then like my eye is looking directly at, you know, the shoe size where, you know, maybe I instead want to look at, you know, the price of the shoes. I would say you could maybe leave the drop shadows on the colors, but by erasing or taking off those drop shadows on US 9 and that other drop down, it's gonna clean up your design.
Yeah.
It's gonna feel a lot better.
Totally. And maybe the only thing I would say is, you know, buttons, if you want to like purchase something, they should be pretty accessible. And this one I would just say, make it full width. So make it from like here to here. And then put either the price up here somewhere if you can fit it in, or on the button possibly. But yeah, the button should be nice and big. That way if someone does want to buy it and they're kind of on the edge, they see the button, it's like, oh, all right, I'll just press it.
If you scroll, does it show you what that drop down on the bottom does? Oh,
No.
Okay.
I think this is just a big GIF.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But
no, great job though.
Yeah. Where am I? Discord is here. Let's see, what do you got? A lot of feedback going on. Wow. Oh, wow. Joss was on it. All right, let's take a look at this one. This is, I'm not sure which one this is. Let's see. Cube. All right, I don't know what day this is, but we're gonna run with it. So we've got a menu down here. That's a little bit interesting. So often you see menus at the top and search icons at the top. So it's an interesting decision to put it down there.
I would say, you know, with navigation especially, that's something that's already been kind of established universally. So how we were talking about earlier, you don't really want to play with that, because then as a user, I have to really search for what I'm looking for. So, you know, I would probably just move that to the top to make it easier.
And there definitely seems to be a lot of room up there. All right, so kind of what we were talking about in I think the first or second example is text. It's got to be legible. So make that text bigger. I know, again, you want to probably squeeze everything, the whole description into this little area. But if I was on this app and I saw text that looked like this, I wouldn't even read it.
Yeah, what I would do instead is like write 1 or 2 sentences about the bike and then have it drop down if they really want to read the rest. Also, I see that it's center aligned. So I would probably go ahead and switch that over to left align, because when we're reading blocks of text, especially blocks of texts that long, by left aligning something, your eyes following a straight line down the block of text.
That's a good point.
Just making it easier for readability. Also, I would probably increase line height a little bit to give it some more breathing room.
Where did it go? I lost it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's very squishy. Let's see, did we miss anything? I think we got it all. Cool. All right, let's look at one more. I think I did see one get posted as we were...
Oh yeah, was it Frankie's? Frankie said that he just uploaded one for day 4.
Oh, did he?
Let's find his.
Was it this? Is this Frankie, the UX Ninja, possibly? Let's check it out. That was just uploaded as we were looking at this. All right. And thanks, Val, for posting the Discord link. So this one, oh, this was Frankie. Okay, so he is UX Ninja. Nice, I recognize that name. So this is for the shoe challenge. Let's take a look. Oops. Nice use of components.
This is great.
Yeah, and
this is really clean.
Yeah, this is kind of falling into a lot of the feedback that we gave for previous ones, is making sure the colors are on a white background. The white, let's see if I can get to it. Yeah, here. So the white box with a gray border. So you may not necessarily need that drop shadow. That works really well. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. Oh, here we go. There we go. Now we can see it all at once. Let's do that one more time. It's just super clean too.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I really feel like he thought of everything here. I mean, you can see he has that pressed state activated. Perfect example of the colors, how there's like a little slight drop shadow if I'm seeing it right, but it has that darker outline.
Yep.
So you still kind of get that hierarchy. That's
that was a really
amazing.
nice animation at the end. It wasn't too overdone. It was very quick, fairly quick. Although if I'm getting really picky, I would just say doesn't line up perfectly. And I would probably just bring 120 up a little bit, just so it's a little bit tighter so it kind of matches the spacing here. But other than that, I mean, it looks
great.
Yep, looks pretty good.
Was that, who was that?
That was Frankie.
Good job.
Yeah.
Dang.
All right, so we're gonna take a look at more challenge entries tomorrow. So if you're still working on it, definitely get those in. We're gonna hop back over to your screen and we're gonna kind of wrap up. We have about 10 minutes left.
Cool.
Let's wrap things up for today.
Oh, Eric says, thank you, Kate, for this amazing stream. Thank you for being here, Eric.
Yeah, Eric. And Eric was in this seat not too long ago.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And we found Eric through the daily challenges and just being part of the community. So going back to what we were talking about very earlier, I think Diego possibly was asking, just, be a part of the community. Take part in the challenges, upload your stuff, and we'll find you. We're always looking.
No, seriously, like they will.
Yeah, we will find you.
No, but that's really cool. I was actually just reading your article, Eric, about why you include the star in your name, and I think it is incredible.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, no, it's a really good article.
What was the reason?
It was basically because it adds like a certain like character to his name. So like when he's in the community, people are like easily recognize him better.
Interesting.
It's like very well thought out.
Interesting. Very cool.
Okay, so to wrap up the stream, we have 10 minutes left. I don't want to get too deep into anything.
It'd be kind of cool. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
Just thinking, because I know we've been, internally we've been talking about how can we recognize certain people. But if you've been a previous guest on Adobe Live, maybe, Val has a little check mark, which by the way, I had a nightmare not too long ago that they took my check mark away.
Oh, no.
That's a weird thing to have a nightmare about.
Was it everywhere or just on?
On Behance.
On Behance.
I lost my check mark in my nightmare.
Oh.
Anyways, but it'd be cool if you were a previous guest on Adobe Live, you get some sort of little badge, kind of like the check mark, but
Yeah.
looks a little bit different.
That could be
fun.
so fun.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're good. So I'm thinking for the last 10 minutes, I don't want to get too wrapped up in anything. Let's go ahead and start taking those quest suggestions that we got earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know, do we want to scroll back up in the chat and get the ones that people had put in? Because I know there were a few. I don't want to
yes.
ignore
if I
them. There
can
were some pretty good
find-
ones.
And if you are still watching, definitely throw in more quest ideas. I know one was, I think Kara said, watch Adobe or watch the Adobe XD daily challenge.
Okay, that's a good one.
Justin says coffee.
So before we actually start typing everything out, I'm going to go ahead and just make this a component really quick so I can do a repeat grid. I don't have to go through and change it all later.
Val says checkmark denied. It's a lot of boba.
It's a lot of boba. You can never have too much boba.
This is true.
Except,
Wait, going back to the story, yesterday we went to get boba, and they ran out. So if you're not familiar with boba, it's basically milk tea with these tapioca pearls. They're these squishy. I don't even know how to describe them. But they taste good. Some people like them. But the boba shop we went to, they had the milk tea, but they ran out of the tapioca pearls. So they just gave us milk tea, which was very disappointing.
At first I thought it was my fault because I ordered and I thought I just didn't specify that I wanted boba.
Right.
And we're cheersing and then we're wait, this has no boba in it. And I felt so bad, and then we heard on our way out that they were oh yeah, we ran out. So I felt a little bit better.
It was very sad.
It was not, because we had been talking about it for so long.
I
It was
know.
finally happening, but not really.
And we failed.
Okay, so what was the quest we were going to do? Watch the Adobe
XD daily challenge.
XD daily challenge, right? No. We're just going to type
I
it
think
out.
Yeah, just go for it.
Okay, maybe we want to...
Oh, Joe says do daily UI challenge. That could be part of it. You watch the stream, then you do the challenge. Again, Jennifer had the suggestion to develop a 404 page for a client. It's always fun. And then I need to get my video uploaded for the January update.
You guys are seeing how bad I am at typing right now. Get video.
Isn't it different when you're live streaming though?
Yes.
See, no one believes me when I say I can't spell during my live stream.
XD.
January update.
January update. Thank you.
Anthony says he's never had boba tea before. It's an acquired taste. It's definitely different because there's those pearls that you're chewing on. It's a weird feeling at first, but I love it. And there's all different flavors. I think yesterday we had taro.
Taro, yeah.
But there's strawberry, there's matcha, there's mango, all different kinds.
Yes, taro's my personal favorite. Or you could do slushies with boba in it.
Yeah.
And it's, oh my God, I highly suggest you go get it.
It's good times.
Okay, so we're gonna add one more, and this is gonna be for me tonight. I'm going, that's not the right spacing. Come back, okay. Finish low fidelity homepage. Wow, mock. Because tomorrow, so today I feel like was all about sort of talking through foundation, talking through how I get started from sketch to references to, you know, even just like thinking on the fly, like my thought process when designing. And tomorrow I really want to dive more into colors and illustrations. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, and if you do want to pass along suggestions, you know, while Kate is designing tonight and putting things together, definitely tweet it at her. Where can they find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at Kate_ my last name, which is, I'll just pull it up. You can find me here.
Yeah.
So tweet me, let's be friends. I'm also on the Discord channel if you want to message me that way, if you guys don't have a Twitter. So yeah, I will be designing until probably like 2 a.m. tonight, so, you know, hit me up.
Wait, Jennifer, they have boba at Animal Kingdom at Epcot?
Wait, what?
What?
That is amazing.
I did not know that. I used to live in Los Angeles, so I went to Disneyland a lot, but I haven't been to Disney World in a long time. They have boba there. Now I'm gonna have to go.
All right, how much time do we have left?
We have 4 minutes, and Alex is saying you should try egg pudding as a topping instead of boba if you can find it. That's
Egg
interesting.
pudding.
I have not tried that.
Instead of, okay. Does it taste, like what does it taste like? Because to me, boba doesn't really taste like anything.
That's true.
Right, it's just like the consistency.
Yeah, the milk tea obviously tastes like something, but the pearls they're just squishy.
Yeah. Thank you, Val, for posting the link in the chat. That's super helpful. Boba passion fruit, says Eric. I haven't tried that one yet.
That sounds good.
To try that. But anyways, yeah, you can find me here on Twitter. Let's take some last minute quests. So I have some more to design around tonight.
Eat sushi.
Eat sushi.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Here's a really good point. So I ungrouped my my grid. So and I want to add more, right? So when you are doing a repeat grid, everything that you drag down is technically a child of your master, right? So let's say I wanted to add more. What I don't want to do is copy one of the childs and drag it down, because then what that's doing is declaring that a child of a child, and it won't actually like update like everything else. So I always want to make sure that I'm copying from the master.
Melanie, I'm assuming she's related to you. She says, is that coffee still hot, Kate?
No, it's not, and it's tea.
And you have to call your mom.
Hi, Mom.
Apparently.
It's a great stream.
Yeah.
So this is tea, and I've been trying to quit coffee, and it's not been going well. So.
Oh, I tried that once.
How'd it go?
I lasted about 1.5 years.
Really? That's a really long time.
I had LASIK eye surgery. These are not prescription. They're just for blue light blocking.
Sure, yeah.
And they told me to just stop drinking coffee a day before and then a day after because the jitters and everything. And I just stopped for 1.5 years.
Did you have to like drink something to substitute it? Like,
No,
did you decaffeinate
water.
Tea? Water?
Yeah. Wow. I had tea from time to time, but yeah. But then pumpkin spice season came along, and I'm like, I'll just have one pumpkin spice latte. That turned into like 10, and now I'm back.
That is so funny.
You know.
I feel like Starbucks is really powerful around the holiday season, because I don't know about you guys, but when they like bust out the red cups, like I usually don't drink Starbucks, but I see the red cups, I'm like, I gotta go to Starbucks. There's something about those holiday drinks that I'm weak for.
They suck you back in. And I think you also have to put call your mom on there.
Oh my gosh, there we go. What better way to end the to-do list?
Indeed. And with that, I think we're just gonna wrap things up. That was fun. I'm excited to see this kind of evolve over the next day, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for joining us in chat. Eric and Val and another Eric, 2 Erics, double Eric. Braden and Joe and Justin. I can't see the rest, but I saw Melanie in there, and a lot of different people. Jennifer, Kara, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with day number 2. You're going to be adding some color, you're going to be evolving this magical quest line that you're working on. And definitely stick around. We've got Photoshop in the morning. Elisa and Anthony are going to be back with some incredible drawing stuff. I can't even do any of that stuff, but they're great at it. And then we'll be back at around 12 o'clock. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
See ya.